4:02, almost 4:03, on Thursday, July the 9th. And I am calling the Environmental Advisory Committee to order, acknowledging that the press and the public were duly notified of the meeting in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act. Nicole, do you like doing the roll call this week? Do you need?
Hey, Laura.
You got it?
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember
Okay.
who's not here.
I would say closer.
How about this? Why don't you say your name to the
I'll
microphone?
do it.
Do
I
a
got
roll
it.
call.
You got it?
I'll
Yep.
remember his name.
Laura Lovins,
Here.
Sean Popson,
Here.
Britton Foy, Susan Smith,
Here.
Eric,
Here.
Cindy. She's here electronically. Charlotte,
Here.
Todd, I think is joining right now.
Okay.
Yeah, Todd's on now.
Okay, so we have a quorum. All right, and so the first order of business is to approve the previous meeting's minutes. Were there any changes? Did anybody have anything that needs to be added, subtracted?
I didn't see anything.
I didn't either. Okay. Can we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
And
I'll second.
Right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We don't have citizens' comments, and we don't have any presentations, so we're gonna start with our first old business, which is an update on our native tree guide and potential tree ordinance changes. And I'm gonna let Ms. Smith
Okay.
take the initiative with this, and I'll chime in. Hopefully, you all got the notes from our meeting that we had with Jerry Benoit, and he had some really good suggestions for editing and possibly making some revisions to some of our tree ordinances.
So our subcommittee, which includes me and Laura and Britton, met with Jerry for probably close to hour and a half to 2 hours. Jerry Benoit is a ISA certified arborist who has advised the city of Isle of Palms on tree issues for a while now. Douglas, you might be able to say how
Yeah,
long.
he's probably been 20 years kind of our go-to arborist. He's always, we don't pay him. We've always, he's been willing to just help us. He helped Matt become a certified arborist. So yeah, been a huge asset with a long history with him, so trust him.
And a leader in the area as far as arborist goes is what we believe. So, and so, you know, what you guys have in the packet is his recommendations to us for improvements. This is not, I think, all of the things that the committee might wind up considering. I think we want to also do a more in-depth comparison to other tree ordinances of other municipalities in the area. But, you know, there's a few things I'll just touch on, I guess. One is, you know, just some housekeeping. There's an old publication date that the ordinance has for going by for, you know, tree pruning. And so he's, you know, recommended to take the date out and have the most current or most recent edition available to go by, but also a little bit more rigorous recommendations around tree permit requests and having a pre-construction assessment of trees on a property and a plan to protect them that is done specifically by an ISA certified arborist ahead of a project, making sure that there's some documentation on sites that are being developed and maybe renovated, and making sure that, you know, everything's being followed correctly, so that I think on the back end, if there is an issue with the tree that is in failing health after development, there's a record of how it was before, I think is one of the main keys of that. So that they can't say, well, you know, the tree was in bad shape before, so there's something to go back to. And he, you know, specifically was asking about documenting, you know, things with the timestamp. He did mention, and you'll see at the end, creating a tree commission like Sullivan's Island, which I think I mentioned at our last meeting. And that's Jerry's recommendation. I believe our city administrator indicated at our last meeting that that might be a lot to keep up with. So potentially another option for oversight might be for our group to look at that. I can't remember if we discussed that at all. To have some oversight on tree issues, or we haven't gotten that
We
far.
touched, but
Yeah.
we have not.
So we may have to come up with alternative options for oversight.
Right.
And I've included the Town of Mount Pleasant's code of violation and penalties because Jerry suggested that we use that, impose similar penalties to the Town of Mount Pleasant's for not following tree construction protection plans. And I can't speak completely to how this compares to what our code says right now.
I think it's the same. quite
Is it?
frankly. I mean,
Okay.
I've got the.
if anything, I think ours is, it bounces
More
around.
rigorous?
I think I'm not seeing in here if it's taken out with a permit, all the mitigation. So I haven't, but the fine is set by state code. $500 is the max. You can add court fees. It says 1,000. I think it actually gets to 1,087.
Okay.
But we have a civil penalty of replacing trees. So I'm not positive, and Jerry's familiar with that, so I don't know what,
So we might need to spend some time comparing those.
it's something, I'm sure there's something he's getting at there.
Yeah.
Um,
So that's something that we'll probably, this is more of an update. I don't think we're prepared to make official recommendations at this point, but we wanted to keep you guys informed about the information that we're receiving around potential changes to our tree ordinances.
Perfect. And so all of our tree ordinances are under the Library Muni Code. It's Isle of Palms. And you go to the Planning and Development tab, and then under that, it's Chapter 4, which is zoning, and Article 3, and starting with Section 5, numbers 61 through 72 are what cover all of the removal of dead or diseased trees, the penalties, permits, all of the specifics. So that's what we will be working through in regards to any updates or changes that we would want to then come back and make recommendations on.
And I forgot to mention just two things. One, well, in regard to that, there's definitions in regard to trees. What is a historic tree? What is a
Right.
significant tree? And those are not right next to, if I'm not mistaken, the tree section, but a little bit earlier.
They're in the definition
You have to
section.
go look for that
Yeah,
if you want to see that.
definition section.
And the other thing is, we talked about, the trees that have been lost probably over the last 100 years to development, and then Hugo being a significant factor in loss of trees on the island. And Jerry mentioned something which I wasn't fully aware of, which is that we're still feeling the impact of Hugo with trees that were maybe didn't fall down at the time, or had to be removed at the time, but are damaged and are not probably going to reach their full life expectancy and potential, which just speaks to the reasons why we have a strong tree code. Those trees help us in a lot of ways, including flooding mitigation and quality of life.
Okay. Then there aren't any other, well, again, we'll come back with more specifics, but we wanted to at least give you that much of an update because it was a very good meeting. The next item under old business is the discussion of the Palm Path brochure. Cindy, is Todd actually on now, or is he? Yes, he is. Okay, great. Are you all both ready to talk about the Palm Path brochure?
Cindy, can you hear us okay?
Can you hear us okay, Cindy?
You may be on mute.
I think she's muted.
Todd, I'm not sure if can you hear us, Todd?
He's definitely.
Yeah, I dropped and I'm back. I hear you fine.
Oh,
There you are, Cindy. All right, we've got you both.
okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yeah, it keeps popping, Todd keeps popping off and it keeps wanting me to admit him back. And I don't know what's going on. But anyway. Todd, do you want to take the lead or you want me to jump in?
I missed the intro. I kicked off the call and back on. But I mean, we're talking about item B now
On path.
on path. Yeah, I guess there may be a disconnect, Cindy. So maybe you can fill in the gaps for me. But I'll just do a little bit of kind of how we got here with the documents that are in the packet today. So Cindy and I met and we worked with, we actually started pulling out the content from other communities that had something similar to what we were calling a good neighbor brochure, or, some sort of a, kind of a respect the locals, kind of a themed document. And so we came up with these comparison of island communities and from North Carolina down to the Low Country, and kind of pulled out what we thought were the relevant items that we could copy from those communities. And then we went through and looked at some of the things that were a little bit unique about Isle of Palms, such as having a marina, and added a few components that were unique to Isle of Palms. So we came up with a kind of a raw content of the types of information we would want guests to know, locals as well as guests to know, that when you come to Isle of Palms, here's some, not really rules, they're sort of, behaviors that are principled in the rules and the ordinances to a large degree, but they're really just kind of a short way to help people understand, what we're looking for from folks that are on the island. And so we took that raw content, we shared that with Josh, and Josh did a masterful job of formatting that and putting together, some different themes and looks to the document. So that was kind of where we left it as of a couple of 3 months ago. I saw a late email today. Susan, it sounded like you were emailing. I wasn't on the emails. You were emailing folks about some feedback, and so I don't know if anything has been done with that feedback or if that's something we should just kind of bring up today. But Cindy, anything else that I left off there?
Yeah, no, I think that's right. And then also, it's kind of a branding piece as well, so I don't know how that fits with the branding exercise that the city's doing. But making it a thing, the way that we behave and we're good neighbors in Isle of Palms, the Palm Path, kind of like what we've done with Wild Dunes, the Wild Dunes Way. And as you said, I think this is a first draft, so it's really for people to give feedback both on the design and logo, but also on the content. So we'll take your feedback, Susan. Thank you. It's very good.
And I actually had a question too, but you may already go ahead.
I was just going to say that I thought it was, what you guys have put together is really well done. I think I mentioned that in my feedback, but yeah.
I just had, this is Laura, under the recyclables, I think that should be corrected because just like the trash schedule, it does adjust now, and it's every week, not the second Thursday of the month, or of the week, I should say. I know, at least in Waldoons.
It's from Labor Day.
Yeah, so it's the same as the trash schedule, so it goes from once a week, from, August 30th to May 29th, and then it also goes to, is that right?
Yeah, peak season, it's weekly, off season, it's bi-weekly. And then the trash, we have the same thing. It's twice a week during the peak season and
Yeah, it's
once
twice
a
a
week during the off season.
Okay, so it's twice a week for the trash, but for the recyclables, it's every other week from August 30th to May 29th, and then it's every week from June 1st to September 4th.
Yeah, I'm not sure we want to put that specific of information in here because I think the county or the city, the schedules could fluctuate a little bit. There could be some variance. And we don't want to end up having to maintain this thing every time somebody a date changes. I don't know how, but it seems like if we could pull back a little bit on the specifics or link to or suggest that you go somewhere to see the calendar. I think for me personally, what I've observed and where I live, the challenge we have we have, for the most part, the rental properties have a valet service that comes and rolls the cans out for the guests to the house. And so it's the valet service, from what I have observed, do a really good job. They know the schedule. They're very on top of the schedule because that's what they do day in and day out. And, they're on top of those cans. What we find is that the guests come in and roll the cans out off schedule. And so, they come in and there's trash in the trash can. They go, oh, trash must have been missed, so I'm going to roll it out today. And trash doesn't get picked up for the next 4 or 5 days. So I almost think there's a different issue than what we're talking about here. But the schedule, I don't know that we want to have it in this document. Otherwise, we may have to reprint it every year.
Well, it's been consistently that way, so I don't really,
The county always kind of threatens to go to twice a month, don't they?
for the recyclables?
Yeah, to drop the summer weekly schedule. That's been a threat. I thought they had declared it this year that they were only going to do every other week, and all of a sudden
Okay.
we're showing up weekly.
Getting into specifics, even with the miscellaneous pickup in here.
Robert, come on up, sit.
Because in Wild Dunes, my understanding is, at least my community, we are responsible for the recyclable bins. The only, the trash bins are handled by, third-party companies and/or the, rental companies. But the recyclables are, recycle bins are the responsibility of the individual owner. And if the renters don't know that the recyclables are collected every week during the summer, they could be checking out, and then I just, if you're gonna put it for the trash, I think you should put it for the recyclables.
What if we said that it's more frequent during the summer and gave a link to the,
That's what I was suggesting. Let's just
Right.
point them to where the calendar is as opposed to try to replicate
yeah,
the calendar.
because if you just link that, the easiest, whenever I'm wondering if it's recycling day, I just pull up that map and you just click on the map and it's,
Well, and don't a lot of the rental houses have dates for,
they,
things posted in there for when
It just
people should
depends.
put the trash
Like,
out?
in our neighborhood there.
but if we put
It's
a
not
QR code
necessary.
on there, then
Yeah.
people can,
Well, I
if people
think-
wanna know, they'll find, it's really easy to find out.
Yeah.
I think the other problem that I think a lot of the island is complaining about is people pulling them out too soon, like at, 9:00 on
Right.
Monday morning, and they sit there until Tuesday.
Yeah,
And I think it should be stated that they're not allowed to come out until, 5:00?
Yeah, it's on the city's website also.
So
about when
again,
they
some
can
kind of a
pull it in.
link about the timing of the bins showing up.
Yeah, that's what I think, if you could link it to something where it gives you this information, because also, sometimes sanitation may change, like we found out this year that, it fell on our city holiday, so there was no trash collection that day. So
right.
it's really got to get linked to something. So if it does change, like Douglas said, even with the recycling, they threaten to just do twice a week, during Memorial Day to Labor Day. So we never really know if that schedule is going to change. So if there is a link to get to for the specifics, because even on if you get down to miscellaneous here, it's a little bit confusing because that's not how we do it. So that's going to have to be altered a little bit also.
With the bulk items?
Yes. Yeah, we don't pick those up every other day. Bulk items are to be set out Tuesday night for Wednesday pickups, and then yard debris for now is we pick up every day. But that may be subject to change too, so.
We might also want to be specific about chairs and beach toys, because I've noticed a lot of renters, they just dump them on the beach.
Well, that's,
It's an
I don't know
ongoing
what they
project.
do with them. Do you bring them to the dump at Harris Teeter, or I don't know what you do with them, but
We do have we have our test pilot program for toys that we're doing. Well, and that we have at Front Beach, but,
and at the 25th.
and at 25th,
And the
that we
25th
might
Avenue,
expand.
Beach
after.
Path is the Mujeres Latinas Toy Bin.
Yeah.
So
I-
would that be a beach rule that we would just add, leave it like, don't leave stuff on the beach? Got a lot of do nots on the beach.
Yeah, I mean, I think I believe I suggested in my recommendations having a QR code to the beach rules. And that way you wouldn't have to worry
List
too
all.
much. If this is a pamphlet that's being printed, at least the piece that's online would be adjustable over time. And the beach rules includes all the litter. That page includes all the litter, but it also includes, some things that you probably are going to repeat or I think maybe I suggested a couple of things that you pull, like filling in holes and that kind of thing. Those are all under beach rules, but it wouldn't be bad to repeat, some of them in the pamphlet.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
A couple other things that we've talked about early on with this initiative. There was a little bit of a discussion about, who is the audience for these different components or elements, and then how do we best communicate that to each audience, each stakeholder. And so we talked about, one point, I think our group talked about bringing a magazine, maybe once a year, twice a year, a magazine that could be left in, all the homes or picked up at Harris Teeter. We talked about possibly, the beach access signage, which I do think is part of the rebranding focus. And so, what goes, which of these items are most important that we should put, make sure are on the beach signage. And then, things like the bus, the shuttle the trolley that goes across the bridge. I forget what we call that, but, putting signage on the bus. Then we talked about these different potential places to put this content, the website, obviously. And then, based on who we were trying to get what information to, is this holistic set of information going to everybody, or do we kind of trim it down? Like, for example, if the beach access, does it matter what the trash schedule is? No, probably not. But, if you're in your property, understanding that the trash schedule is important, sand or digging holes and not filling them up is not something that, it's a beach thing. And so, right information, right place, kind of a thought we were trying to figure out, how do we balance this? And this is a pretty big thing. I mean, what we were really trying to tackle was what are the key items that we want to make sure people understand, and the things that people frequently don't understand, making sure we sort of, hit that low-hanging fruit. That was kind of our thought process. And then the last thing I'll say is something else we as Environmental Advisory Committee actually care about or would author probably 70 or 80% of what would go into this type of a document. But there are some public safety and facilities things, like we talked about trash schedule. We talked about, or Susan, your message referenced the litter or the single-use plastics ordinance. There are things that public safety or facilities would also want to weigh in on and prioritize before we could get this thing completed. And because of that, I think we felt like it needed to be driven by the city with input from the relevant committees. And so we felt like our goal or objective was to share, this is the content that we as an environmental advisory committee feel like is the priority.
I would say it struck me as that your audience was mainly overnight visitors, even though you touched on maybe some things that were also apply to day visitors, but this seemed to me like a good guide to have in a rental house, and that I thought that's kind of what you were going for.
Yeah, I mean, I think all the content we referenced was really targeted to short-term rentals. And, I think Cindy and I were discussing, ways to target a broader audience. The day visitors, the short-term rental, sort of midterm visitors, and then the full-time or part-time residents, all could benefit from some of this information, to some degree. But you're right, a lot of these types of documents, these good neighbor brochures, are typically authored with the visitors in mind.
I think the goal is to make it easy. I mean, I think visitors want to do the right thing and they want to do, what the locals are doing, but it's hard to access. So if they have to go into a website and search around, it's just hard. But we're trying to make it very user friendly.
Under the other ways to have fun, I just had 2 other quick comments on the farmers markets. They actually start in June. It's June through October. And I was wondering about the kayak tours and rentals. Would it be okay to mention that it's through, Eco Tours, Barrier Island Eco Tours, so that they would know what website to go to find out about those?
I don't
But
think.
what if it changes?
Yeah, I don't think we'd want to
No?
push an
Okay,
individual
all
through.
right. Well, they're the ones that are there, and,
I think they could Google.
They'll.
okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and actually, Barrier Island doesn't do kayaks anymore. I mean, or doesn't do kayaks. It used to be coastal expeditions, and they're
okay.
not there
All right.
anymore.
So then the only other thing I would say is just correct that time frame for the farmers markets.
Well, and I just have one comment. I mean, I think this is great, what you put together. Under the beach rules, does it make sense where it says do not interfere with the sea turtles, to also add and nests in addition to the sea turtles?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Do we need something on lighting as well? Like
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
rent it?
Yeah, no, flashlights on the beach from May 1st through mid-August. At
And I,
night, no flashlights on the beach at night, and, turn your lights out, if you're in a home, turn your lights out, your deck lights, your porch lights at night.
I think
From
those,
dusk, starting at dusk.
and then the holes, filling in holes, I think would be a good one to add in. I think I mentioned that in my comments already, but that's for sea turtles and people safety as well.
Absolutely.
So Todd, maybe the easiest thing is just to get people's comments online. Just take it out of the meeting and just get it online, and then work with Josh to incorporate the extra comments.
Yes, I agree. I think that's really our purview, is to get share with Josh what we think the relevant environmental advisory committee specific items are. All the stuff with the branding, which of the logos and look and the feel, I'm not sure that's really, I would love to have feedback or provide input on that, but I don't know that that's our decision as a group, right?
Weren't you looking at doing something like with a boardwalk with like turtle tracks on it for the Palm Path, which I thought was really cool? Or is that what Isle of Palms or Waldoons is doing with the Waldoons Way?
That was something we talked about, was Josh, was the idea of having the logo have a turtle going down a beach access path and having turtle tracks behind it or something like that. So that's, I don't know if you want to take a stab at that, or I don't remember if that was in one of the designs that you provided.
So I thought that was really cool. I mean, I like the ones that you have here, but I thought that one was really appropriate.
What, and Douglas, can you speak to how much do you think that this needs to match up with the other branding that the city's working on overhauling?
So, well, I could get to that. I guess from my perspective, it would be useful if we could identify that kind of, we've talked about it going to different target audiences, and it can kind of take different shapes, it can take different forms. The project kind of starts to go far afield if you start, too many different directions. From my perspective, it's pretty well tailored to a short-term rental property. There is currently a required placard. I mean, our ordinance requires a placard in each house that has a bunch of rules that the city generates that gets posted in each rental. I think that it would be useful to say, this is the audience, this is how we're going to do it, this is what we want to do, this is the message we want to convey. Kind of narrow it instead of broaden it, from my perspective, would be helpful.
Yeah.
I might suggest that to me, it looks in pretty good shape to go to like short-term rental management companies to see what they could do. We could produce brochures, we could have brochures if they wanted them in their rental houses. We could, to me, it's naturally kind of headed that way, and maybe that's an easy first target. And we try to kind of get it launched and into place, and I would suggest into short-term rentals in some way. I think that'll give us a little bit more direction.
But in
I
terms
don't
of the
think, back to the branding,
Yeah,
I
the
do
branding.
think that project hasn't even, I mean, we don't have even a vendor, so we don't know really where that project will lead, or, there's now kind of pushback on it, so at a staff perspective, that falls on deaf ears, I don't know. So this is definitely ahead of that, but I do think that we could do it in a way that the message gets, kind of the plan of attack, the verbiage, the message we want to convey, the audience, that all gets identified by this group. All of the pertinent information gets populated. I think that there could be an opportunity to change the look after a branding company is on board. They've worked with us. They could certainly take a look at it and say, hey, to kind of fit the look, this would be a way. So I don't know if that, I'm trying to make it simpler, give a little bit kind of direction. To me, that would be a clear path. Make it a short-term rental document. You run the risk of, you start kind of trying to do too many things, it becomes longer, it becomes kind of a rule book, and before you know it, you've lost your
And
audience.
scattered, yeah. We
Yeah.
want to focus on.
I like the idea. I mean, it's very accessible at this point. It's long enough that it's short enough that I think it would keep anybody's attention span. It would take you 10 seconds, 15 seconds to get a good look at just kind of high level. I think you start really getting into details of, on this date and this time of year. I think you could give direction of, go to a QR code, go, if you want more, here's more. But I'd be leery of getting too much into the details of really much beyond what you have there.
That sounds great. What about the, do we circle back to, or circle around to public safety for their input into this? Or do we just float what we have to them? Like, how do we, I don't want there to have 4 different documents going to the same audience, because we've all operated in a silo. To what
Yeah.
degree do you think we should loop them in?
Why don't we do this? Why don't we take what we have, edit it slightly, sounds like, yeah, just a handful of kind of changes to farmer's market, maybe a QR code, filling in holes, turtles and their nests.
I did have some suggestions that included adding a few more things to other ways to have fun, but also
Seems like there's space for that. I mean, there's still
adding,
kind of an empty.
moving the parking part, which is above, underneath the dog piece, to make, moving parking under other ways to have fun, and adding some information about the dog park underneath dogs at the beach. In that space where
So
parking is.
parking,
Add that there is a dog park at the rec center.
Yeah, and some of the basic rules for the dog park. Because I do think that's a feature, being a user of the dog park, I know that there are people who bring their dogs that are visiting.
yeah.
So I think it would be nice for them to know what the general rules are, including the fact that you're not supposed to bring children under 12 inside. So they can be prepared for that in advance.
I feel like that's a dog park rule all across the world.
I think also with regards to other ways to have fun, because, tennis and pickleball is a big thing.
Oh, yeah, that.
And that's available at the rec center, for
Yeah.
free. And I think that could be something that could be added under other ways to
Yeah.
have fun.
They
Well-
also have weekly
And
classes too.
they have
Yeah.
exercise classes too.
So
There-
you can
there is a-
consult the-
There is a
Rec guide.
spot in there somewhere for, with rec. It describes the rec frequent locations. And I did feel like and recommended that should emphasize the things that people can roll up and do, like basketball, racquetball, pickleball. That fitness court, which is something that you find in other parts of the country too. Those kinds of things, which it mentions a couple of them, but isn't complete.
Douglas, do you think?
I think it's great.
With the miscellaneous policy, if this is geared towards short-term rentals, do they need to know when to put out yard debris?
Yeah, what
or
do-
bulk? I mean, that
No.
should
That's-
not be their,
That would be one thing. I do think that this is kind of, right now, a little bit generic. And if we agreed that short-term rental guests were the first, kind of version 1.0 would be geared towards short-term rentals, we create that strategy.
Yep.
And I think I agree that I don't know if they're ever rolling it out. They're definitely not doing, bulk items
right,
and yard debris.
and yard debris, and I agree.
Oh,
Are,
that's
are they
true.
actually rolling? Do
I don't
short-term
think so.
rentals
I
actually
agree
roll
with-
out their carts?
With Todd, I think every short-term rental has a can pulling service
Really?
that brings
Oh.
it
I mean, I
out.
know,
I mean,
no, I've never stayed in a short-term rental in Isle of Palms,
Yeah.
but when I've stayed in other places, I've
yeah,
taken
no,
my
I've
trash out.
done that before, but I've never heard of, and I could be wrong.
Well, it might
But
be
it-
more to just the property management companies probably provide that, but
Yes.
maybe your mom and pop short-term rental,
Right,
maybe
require
it gives
them
instructions.
to pull it out. So yeah, I think the trash days on there would be helpful.
Just
in
just
any-
not bulk items, yard debris. They're
Right.
definitely
right,
not doing that.
no.
Right. No, just the days of
That's
trash
true.
would be
So
fine.
Yeah.
that could come out.
Yeah, that could come out.
No, no,
But yeah, I worry if you put bulk items that people are gonna say, oh, that's where my chairs go
Beach
that I'm not
chairs.
taking back on the plane. Yeah.
Trying
Yeah.
to slow that up a little
That's all.
bit. Yeah.
Umbrellas.
But
So
then
ha-
a QR code under the recyclables for Charleston County.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, if it's not in there already, yeah, definitely to emphasize that chairs and umbrellas should not be left on the beach, and toys. But like, I guess there's maybe some people feel like they're doing that as a good service to others, that somebody
think
else is going to be
also-
able to use them.
I think to what Cindy said, though, I think sometimes people just don't know. They set their chairs up and leave them there all week thinking it's fine, and
True.
they don't know where the high tide line is or understand that turtles could be a problem. So I do think it's worth mentioning.
Yeah.
And is there a place they can dispose of them? Like people who fly in, they're not gonna fly back with their chairs. So what do they do with them?
That's a whole that's a subcommittee waiting to happen.
when they're dead.
They,
I mean,
they
leave
put
them
them
at
in
the
the dead
house
chair
and someone
bin.
else will use them.
Well, I see them piled up next to the trash cans.
Yeah,
Usually those are damaged.
Those are,
Yeah.
yeah, usually.
Okay, so are we
So tidy it up. I
tidying
think it
up?
comes for one more pass, and we talk a little bit more about kind of the strategy of distribution with an agreement that it'll be short-term rental focused.
I do like a turtle walking down a path.
And go back to the creative department of Josh.
Feedback.
I just thought that sounded cute.
Yeah.
What is it, this week?
they're lovely though,
It looks great.
yeah.
But
So we'll take the next, so Cindy and I can reconvene and,
Throw in a turtle.
Okay.
Yes, they're out there.
Hey, so-
I've seen them.
can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we got you, Todd. You said, Todd, were you
Yeah.
saying take one more pass?
Cindy and I will go back and take the feedback and then put that final pass together, final draft, and send it back out to the group. And then we'll also, if you guys can just cycle it through with the public safety group in
Yes.
particular, just make sure there's nothing for them.
Yep.
And that would be, as you said, that's sort of like version 1 or step 1 of this. I do think the day visitors, day trippers, and that would be a different format, right? It's probably not a printed document, but it's probably the signage at the beach access, maybe the signage on the shuttle, but maybe we could start working towards a draft of that, and that could be a later initiative, or it could just be input for that marketing group when they start thinking about the rebranding of the signage. Because one of the things when I see those signs that are the larger signs at the beach access, there's a lot of stuff on there. And so I feel like it gets lost. People are not going to stop and read that. So finding a way to, hit the mark with the things that matter most, maybe we could take a stab at that next.
Okay, that's going to be version 2.0.
That's version 2,
Yeah.
deliverable
Yeah,
2.
I mean,
we'll
I
call
think
it.
that, I say it in jest, but I think that would be that's a good way to
Although,
kind of take it and modify it for
the
each audience.
marquee signs that have the different, interchangeable, I mean, you
The
don't,
two at the entrance.
aren't you in the middle of an initiative to try to put all of those at every beach access?
Yeah, so we
I
have.
don't know if we've ever said every.
Well, yeah, some won't accommodate everyone because they're narrow, but what
Okay.
you're talking about is the wayfinding signs, and yes, on there's no smoking, dog rules, then our general rules are on there, so they can be changed up. We've changed them from, the coyote signs to other things. So there is a shorter version and there's a longer version out there. The new wayfinding signs have the condensed version of rules on it, and then the old ones are a big
List.
A
laundry
big long
list
list.
of stuff out there. So we have, anytime we put a wayfinding sign in, we remove that other one
Okay.
and it's out of there. So that smaller version could be updated into whatever rules.
Do we still do? I mean, it was as though we did kind of 3 or 4 or 5 beach paths per year
Yeah, we're
with the
still-
updated sign. Do we
yeah,
still
we're
kind
still
of
on that track.
do
yeah.
that?
Yeah.
I
There used
would,
to be a lot of different. It would be like
Yeah.
6 different poles. Each pole would have 3 or 2 or 1.
Yeah, we've
So that
cleaned
was it was
them.
pulling all the poles down, taking all of the signs off of each, and kind of having one space from the land.
Right, and that was
Some don't lend them. Some are very, you almost, don't know there's a beach path there. Others
Right.
are popular. So we tried to kind of start with the most heavily used first and make our way.
Then we
to
added the
small.
wayfindings
Yeah.
to where we did the boardwalks and all that. Wherever we
Yeah.
do a beach access improvement, we'll
You
add
do,
the
okay.
sign there,
Yeah.
so.
I do wish that there was room for more than 4 spaces
Well,
of
I think,
things.
I think a lot of what we designed originally with that little garbage extension kiosk hiding the cans off the signs lends itself to more signage if you want to put more signage, but,
Yeah,
We get
Sometimes less
we
is
get
more.
we get a lot of signs.
we get both critiques.
Yeah.
We get you got too much. You lose the audience. They
Right.
see just a ton of stuff and they walk back.
It's
And then
a
we've heard
balance.
we've heard the other that it's too
It's a
little.
balance.
You need to have more. So we definitely try to strike a.
So I could not hear the name that Robert called the sign. Is it wave finding sign? Is that what I'm
Way,
hearing?
W-A-Y.
Wayfind.
Wave.
Finding.
Okay, great. I want to see what that looks like.
Where's an
Later.
example where that would be? That
Just put a brand new on 26A. There's quite a few. I think there's 24 or 5 of them.
25, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
26A, Todd, is a
Is-
good new example.
Yeah, it's brand new.
thank you. Perfect.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna, email some quick revisions to them, if you haven't already, for them to consider incorporating, to tidy it up. We've determined that the short-term rental, people are our primary audience. We'll do one more pass at some revisions.
We'll internally do a pass through the public safety
And public
departments,
safety's
be
gonna
sure
look at
they don't have anything.
And then it'll come back to us to look at again.
Yep,
Okay, great.
And one more creative pass on the turtle.
And
Yes.
the turtle path, yeah. Okay. Let's go to our discussion of the Tree Bank Grant Program. And thank you to Eric and Douglas and Britton, who's not here tonight, for really solidifying this and putting it together, I think, in a really nice format. So we took the ATAX approach and we made it a hybrid. Because the ATAX application process is once a year. And with our planting windows really technically twice a year, we set it up so that there would be a review period in late January, which would incorporate the March-April planting period. And the award notification for the money would be early February, and that would give people the time that they needed for March-April planting. And then the second submission deadline would be the October-November period, where we would have them submit in July. The review would be late July, and the award notification would be in August. And that, again, would give them time for appropriate planning in either October or November. We'll accept applications year-round, but these will be the periods when the application will actually be reviewed and potentially awarded. And we amended it, instead of a 60 or 90-day period for after approval for the planting, we put it as they should be planted within this planting window of either March, April, or October, November. And those were the windows that the Horticulture Society had recommended to, when I spoke with them, there's gonna be 2 periods, those would be the best.
Oh, okay.
Then Britton came up with reimbursement tiers, because he had mentioned that when we started talking about this last month. We would have an 80% reimbursement for a property on a street with buried utility and within a designated low canopy zone. 65% for property on a street with a buried utility or within designated low canopy zones. And then a standard reimbursement of the 50%, which would be pretty much all other qualifying properties.
And are there certain areas that have buried utility?
there are.
Yes.
Yeah,
Is it in predominant areas like Wild Dunes, or is it just kind of scattered throughout the island?
Wild Dunes does not have any utility lines out, they're all underground.
they're all buried in Wild Dunes.
But
Outside of
cities-
Wild Dunes, it's pretty scattered and,
Scattered.
yeah, kind of.
A lot
Less.
of Palm from 21st to 41st is no utility lines on Palm, right? Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
The commercial area,
Where's the low canopy zones?
I don't think that's been, that hasn't been
That's
identified.
That's what we need to look at that, those links that Douglas sent, which gives the topography of the trees over the course of time. I actually looked at it with Douglas in his office because I was having trouble navigating it. And it's really clear that when you go basically from Front Beach to the southern part of the island, that whole area is very low canopy. And those are definitely the priority areas that we would want to ask people to raise their hand and put in an application for a tree.
So when you say low canopy, I think you mean there's not a lot of trees.
Exactly, yeah.
But that low, to me, I think could be, maybe there's a better word, because when I think of a low canopy,
You're
I
thinking of
think,
the actual-
yeah.
I
So
mean,
maybe
Trail.
another word.
It's very.
I think
Sparse.
I know
very
what sparse.
It's sparse, there you go.
Sparse might
It's
be.
low density.
Yeah.
Sparsely located, sparse amount of
Sparse canopy.
trees. Sparse canopy.
So are we gonna designate that?
That could be under Britain's idea of the reimbursement of the priority. That could be the 80% or even 65%.
No, but who's gonna dictate what's low canopy? The EAC is gonna do it? Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty subjective. You could get some pushback on that. You know, they could say, oh, I don't have any trees on my property. I don't, it should be considered low canopy. And, the no utility lines or not, it's kind of a binary thing, yes or no. So we just need to brace for that.
I wasn't sure, so I think that's a good point. Joshua, I don't know if you have an email on this tree canopy issue that has two links. One is the Google Maps.
I've got it. You want me to, well,
Can you,
I can email it to him now.
yeah, could you
and have
send that
somebody pull
email
it up.
to,
All right. hold
and
on.
while she's doing that, and we could look, it is subjective. There is, and I don't know the source
Yeah.
of the map, but it basically puts that whole area as kind of red. So there's a little bit of a guiding document that,
It's like a third-party document?
yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be best to point it to a third-party document. That's,
I will say it's slightly like it's very like pixelated.
yeah.
So I don't think you could get to it'd be very hard to get to like a parcel level of detail. So I think it might take this community saying, based on, this is an interesting exercise.
What's the source of the document? Like, it's a,
So that, I don't have my glasses, but one of those is Google Earth
Yeah.
with a layer, correct? So this one, Joshua, go to kind of the Forest Trail area. Yep, and then turn off the base layer. So you're on Wild Dunes. Go south. Go kind of to the left. Keep going. Kind of rec center. Kind of maybe get the rec center in the middle of the screen. Maybe zoom out just a little bit. Yep, that's good. A little bit more. So there, just kind of toggle between 2001 aerial and, to me, this was pretty telling on how much better the canopy looks
Oh, yeah.
in
okay.
26
I just
versus
sent
2.
him-
So in 25 years, which you would
From Hugo.
expect that in 2001, we were still recovering from Hugo.
Yeah.
Cool.
But it's pretty incredible the amount of canopy that's formed in 25 years.
And I've noticed that anecdotally, just in my neighborhood,
Yeah.
how much more foliage there is since we moved in the 90s.
So that's a pretty neat tool, I thought, to see it. Now this is a layer on Google Earth, and I can't read who generated the layer, and the layer's not up there yet.
I just emailed Josh those links.
Oh. Huh. Well, so that layer wasn't.
Yeah, I feel like it gets to be a really difficult situation if we start saying that certain people are gonna get
more
more
a priority.
reimbursement or.
I also worry
it's
about,
literally like just, you're treating certain people differently from others based on the number of trees in their yard, which doesn't,
But it's more for the area, though. I mean, I'm neutral on this, but I think it's more saying we have a broad area that really needs trees. So if you're a homeowner in that area, we would like to encourage you even more to participate. But I see what
I
you're
could see
saying.
somebody, I have tons of trees in my neighborhood, but if I want to add trees, I feel like I should get just as much.
Yeah.
You
You don't want people to walk away from it feeling like they're getting less than.
Right, yeah, that's,
It should definitely be more of a bonus than
Yeah.
a detriment.
Well, and I wish there'd be a way that we could add trees along Waterway by the bike paths, because a lot of people use that. I know there are overhead lines, that there aren't many shaded areas on the island that people access a lot, but that is one area that people utilize for bikes and walking.
Well, so that would be, that's you have one of two ways. Either the city could go and try to plant trees in the DOT's right of way and get an encroachment permit, maintain them, very similar to how we do with the palm trees on Palm Boulevard. That was a public project. That's one way to do it. The other way that I think we're kind of talking about here is heavily incentivizing the people in a particular zone of, hey, you've been identified as a place we would really like some additional shade. And we've talked about a sharing. It could be that even when we try to share, there's so little interest that we still kind of can't spend the money. And I think the town of Mount Pleasant has said there's not an overwhelming response to it. The next step would be straight up offering to give it. It's like, hey, you're an area, and because the city is faced with either we plant it, we maintain it, we try to irrigate it, we manage it, or we could say, and I would say it's a better position for the city to say, put it on your side of the line. We're willing to
care
make
of
the
it.
investment if you're willing to take care of it. So it's still kind of a winning situation for the city.
At the end of the day, we're offering to pay for part of the trees.
Right.
It's something we've not done before, so anybody who's getting money for the trees hopefully will be glad for it. And
Right, but
if
I'm
they're,
just also looking at common areas.
Kind of
Yeah.
prioritizing, and that's, that is part of the challenge, is we'd be willing to pay for it if you put it like right out by the road, so the public gets some benefit in 20 years from the shade it generates.
it's with the walkway path though, would they have to be certain kinds of trees that you wouldn't have to worry about roots, busting up a path, right?
Yeah,
And they'd have to be a certain distance away
I
because
think
we
so.
don't want to wind up in that position again.
I think irrigation is the big problem. When you give it to a homeowner, they've got irrigation 9 times out of 10 on their property. Anything we're dealing with this right now on Waterway Boulevard, we're limited to what we can do as far as sod and this and that because you just don't have that irrigation there. That's where we struggle in the common areas or rights of ways.
And that's even with native trees.
This is.
well, it's like,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
not for
that's it.
very long, but
That's
it's
it.
like,
Right.
until they,
Get
I mean,
established.
Yeah.
that's the first link. Josh, can you?
Doesn't work for you?
So,
Actually, she can, let me see what,
like,
you probably can plug in.
you can't. That's fair.
There is a cable here somewhere, right, Josh? I think you have a, let's see if you link it. Yeah. I think you
Yeah.
can- You see it?
There's a bunch of cables down here.
It's usually sitting on, say, USB-C. Usually kind of sits. Josh, if I hand it to you, could you, if it's USB?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any doubt that it'd be nice to have more trees down at the south end, and if, I think if the city, I just feel like it gets a little bit awkward telling one resident that they
So that's,
qualify for something,
that's the map, the thermography map. And so you can,
Josh, you
all
see
that
this one?
red is, it's built
I
up.
feel like that's gonna be
I don't know. I don't know. They're all getting money to plant trees. So if somebody's getting a little extra
That is
as a
layer
bonus,
created
no,
by
if that's,
someone.
I don't know that we're gonna have a lot of people
I
applying
don't
to
think we are
begin
either,
with.
but I'm thinking like from a legal standpoint, that if somebody starts complaining about it, that treating one
So
person
Josh-
differently than another is
Maybe.
typically frowned upon.
Yeah, I don't have incentive districts for different programs, not just trees, but just, no.
So see the difference.
Well, you have
from
more of a
Front
legal
Beach
background, yeah.
South, versus the rest of the island.
Do you think on the power lines, do you get pushback that all of Wild Dunes gets more than 50%? That's a hot button issue on like social media and the community groups. Does that cause problems? I think I get the intent and agree with the intent, but when people find out, oh, well, Wild Dunes gets 65% and up and I get 50%.
Of
Did
what?
that? The way the incentive's written,
Oh.
if you don't have power lines, if you have buried
Oh.
power lines, you're automatically getting more money.
Oh, well then
And
that.
you
yeah,
have an
that's a good
entire
point.
part of the island that uniformly gets that 65 or 80%. And given that that can be a tense issue already,
That's a good
But
point.
it's and.
Well,
and
so,
limited, it would be, not, I don't wanna say low canopy anymore, but limited canopy. It's
well,
not just-
or 65% is either or.
Yeah,
So-
But
So
80 is and.
80, right. No, but I'm saying 65%, right? So it's like, if you're in Wild Dunes, you automatically, the floor is 65%. If you're not in Wild Dunes, the floor is 50%.
Let's just make this really simple and make it one amount, but you have to have a good place to put the tree. I mean, let's
Well, and
face
that's
it.
right tree, right
I'm
place is
right.
part of the
I'm not
agreement.
there's not a lot of places in my yard where I could put trees because there's already trees there. And if you have power lines, you can't put your trees under a power line. If you want to put trees somewhere that's not under a power line, then great. So like, I think if we just do
Flat
across
out.
the board,
I mean,
flat
that's
them
what we
out,
started with, and
but then say that but you have to put it
Yeah.
in the right place.
As an
you're-
alternative, you could maybe do more education with that southern part of the island to make sure that there maybe some neighborhood meetings to say, hey, look what we found. You guys really don't have a lot of trees. You would benefit by having more trees. And hey, the city has this program to help you pay for it. Maybe that's where and then nobody feels like they're being treated differently, but you get more people engaged in that hot spot.
and maybe, a little bit of this was trying to kind of be sure people get engaged and active and that trees are
actually
getting
asked,
planted.
the money is actually
Yes.
being requested.
So
yes.
maybe this is another, we start simple, start with one
One
tier,
tier.
50%, test the water, see how it goes. If we see that, parts of the island or whatever, we can
Yeah.
kind of give it a year, give it 2 years, see how it goes. And then if it's like, hey, we still really don't have any trees getting planted in this area that we feel like we need trees, maybe we revisit and come up with a new strategy of whatever that might be.
I
Yeah,
think
we can back it down to
yeah.
just the 50%, which is where we started.
So take away kind of
80
tiers.
Yeah, the tiers, and make it just flat
But
50%.
then make sure that it's.
And then, and then there's the agreement that they have to sign. And we have to review the design, where they're gonna put the
Yeah.
tree, the type of tree.
I didn't fully understand the eligibility matrix and if tier A, B, and C was
We're getting
going
rid of
to
that.
tier priority, enhance, and standard. Is that what,
Yeah.
that's what this whole,
Yeah.
okay.
So
So we would take away
would
that
take
and just
away
have
that
the
and make it-
requirements.
Yeah.
Right.
That makes it a lot simpler.
In the
too.
letter, what is? So in the event of tree loss, EAC may review the circumstances and provide guidance on replacement opportunities or future program participation, meaning what does provide guidance on replacement opportunities mean? Like we would do
If
what?
that particular tree didn't do well, then we could provide, and we would have to do some research, again, with some arborist help, to maybe determine a tree that would do better in their particular location based on, sunlight, lack thereof sunlight, all of the different factors that may have caused that tree not to thrive properly, the first tree that they planted.
Okay. Or
And do,
in the second part, or future program participation, meaning if they were just negligent, they would just be disqualified from future participation.
and do we want HOAs to be eligible? Because under funding caps, it says 5,000 per HOA. But that seems like a windfall for an HOA. I mean, they have money anyway to do trees, like, I'm not sure, I would make it more on an individual basis and not make the HOAs eligible.
Eligible?
I mean, I think our goal is more trees, and I would like to see us do everything we can to encourage more trees. If it's an HOA, I don't care if it's an HOA versus an individual.
And again, maybe we learned through a couple of years that, hey, there's a loophole, HOAs are taking all the
Taking
money.
advantage of it,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which
If
may-
that happens, then we can tap
We
that.
could kind of,
Yeah.
I mean, I think our
let's
challenge
just-
is going to be people participating.
Right.
Let's get this out there and like, just as broad as we can.
loose, broad, open
Try to
to,
get people
see
to
what
do it
traction
and
it
see what
gets.
happens.
And there's really not any, are there any HOAs?
well, I was thinking about the little seaside.
There's a lot in Wild
In
Dunes, so
all-
that'll
in
skew
each
towards
of the
Wild
con- I
Dunes.
mean, all the condos have.
Oh, okay.
In
Yeah.
Wild Dunes.
So like if you lived in
That's
a
an HOA.
condo in Wild Dunes, you couldn't.
There are a lot of them
They just-
in Wild Dunes.
It would have to be done by
And
Okay.
even
the
some
only
of
way, and some
the,
of the front beach ones too.
and some of the neighborhoods like Seaside, yeah.
21st, whatever the one
Marsh,
is.
Oh, yeah.
Marsh Lane and I think Seaside have HOAs.
I mean, I think it'd be great if they all have more
Yeah.
trees,
Right.
so I don't care. If we plant some.
So I think what I'm hearing is we should.
Right tree, right place.
Yeah.
We should make the amount a standard amount across the board, no matter, but they still have to have right tree, right place. And we're not gonna make restrictions on HOAs versus individuals at this point. And we'll get rid of the
Tiers.
The tiers.
Yep.
We'll get rid of the tiers. Anything
And then
else?
who would be responsible for the periodic inspections? Would that be our arborist person, or who would be doing that?
We would have to coordinate with, probably with Jerry or another.
Can we ask Jerry to do that, though? He's not really employed,
I mean,
like,
Jerry.
at a level that,
We do ask Jerry to do a lot.
yeah, and
He's kind of out, I mean, he literally is, twice a week, he's out here for clients. He
he?
just kind of
Okay.
rides around. I don't know that we can officially, but I think this is a thing that every, like twice a year, somebody would just kind of
We
make
could-
note of it. And I think we're going to notice if it
contract
dies.
someone to do,
And we
just to
could-
do bulk.
We could
And
potentially
checks.
contact the native tree or the Native Plant Society and ask for their help. See if they have someone who could occasionally come out to volunteer to help us, or someone with, like Save a Tree, like Ash, who volunteers.
I kind of feel like the city should get a contractor and pay them to do something like this. I mean, maybe it's just once or twice a year, and they just check up on the trees, and it's probably not going to cost very much, but maybe a couple $1,000s. But I would think that would be easier to manage and also be fair. I mean, at some level, we have to, pay for things.
What's your take on that, Douglas?
I think again, we need to see how many, I mean.
Yeah, and there's probably
Yeah,
not gonna be
at this
that
point,
many.
This is a little bit premature.
Yeah,
because
that's true.
If 4 people get trees, I mean.
Right.
You guys drive around and
Yeah.
you'll know
I'll
which tree,
check it
which ones
for-
they were.
Yeah,
You'll see
that's
the
true.
trees, and if
Be
they're
it for,
dead,
after
they're
for
dead.
a
I
fitting,
mean,
for a fitting, yeah.
this, we don't need, I think we're getting a little, if
Yeah.
this thing takes off and we have
Yeah.
hundreds
It will
of
be a
new
good
trees.
problem to have.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's
It'll be
true.
a- let's-
That's
And
true.
then we can-
We
let's
could
cross
work
that
that
cross
out
that
when
bridge
we,
till we get
it doesn't have to be in the code either, how we
Right.
do that.
Okay.
And really, the inspection though is up front, right? I mean, there is an inspection up front that's like right place,
Right.
the right tree at the right place,
Right.
but then there's an inspection 60 days after. So we're talking about 2 times to just kind of, I think that's just to monitor the health from the windshield of it's still green or it's, I mean, it's obvious
It's
when they
really-
die.
It's
I know, I mean, it
really-
might be nice to have an arborist look, but yeah, I mean, at a level, if it's a few trees, then we ask Jerry, hey, can you stop by? But
I
if it
think every
gets to
one
be
of us will
bigger,
know if it dies.
yeah,
Yeah.
If we approve, I think it's gonna be
yeah,
10 trees, I
Right.
think we'll notice.
Well, no.
When those leaves start falling off in the fall, we'll know.
Okay, so we should take another pass at it,
Yep.
make some revisions,
I think it's great work, though.
and bring it back.
Yeah, I think this is one that the EAC will look back on 20 years from now and feel really good about it.
I did too. Okay. Any other comments or anything? Okay. Well, we're running a little bit over, so, under the new business, we were gonna have some discussion about a potential ordinance, which really wouldn't be appropriate at this point. But the background on this, I think hopefully you read through. We have trash contractors that are, driving their vehicles with untarped dumpsters.
Do you want,
And-
can I just,
and
can I
Katie is
tell
the
you why?
one
Can
who-
can I just explain where I'm coming from on
Yeah.
this? Yeah, so I've seen two dumpsters, and it's not that they're untarped. They do have tarps, but the tarp is made out of like a sheet, cloth of some sort, and so it's not working. And trash is flying going over the intercoastal, and trash is flying into the intercoastal.
Into the coastal.
And so, and then I see the dumpsters constantly. They're not supposed to be filled over the lip of the dumpster. And every single dumpster, every single day is overflowing. And so my thing is, right now, the only thing is that if a police officer happens to be driving behind that truck and happens to see the trash flying out, that's the only recourse we have. So it seems to me that all we need is something added to the building code that would say, because we already have inspections of the property during construction. So if you have ongoing construction and you're being inspected for 1,000 other things, this is just one of the things. You have to have your silk fence, you have to have your portalet, you have to have all the things. And if you have trash overflowing your dumpster, you gotta fix it. And either you get somebody to smush it down or take some of it out. I mean, so.
But also, you're concerned about the covering.
Well, I mean, the
When they're in
dumpster company,
transport.
the dumpster companies do cover it. It's just the fact that if it's, it's just simple physics. If
Well,
if it's sticking up over the lip of the dumpster, a cloth is not going to keep anything in place.
Right. So it's a combination of that, of the amount that's being put in, that's over the limit,
Right.
but also, I'm hearing that it's also the type of covering.
No,
is
I'm not, I have no qualms against, I'm not trying to reinvent the dumpster hauling company business.
Okay, all right.
The tarp works. If the dumpster's not overflowing,
It's not
the
overflowing.
tarp works. That's, I mean, they've been doing that forever, and it works if it's not overflowing. If it's over the lip, which the dumpster says right on it, do not fill above this level. If it's over that level, that little cloth is not going to stop it from coming out. So, that's the only thing that we can't try that. We can't start trying to attack,
The
the
okay.
dumpster companies for the way that they're hauling, because it's not even on DOT roads. I mean, that's a DOT issue.
But can we say if you're seeing with things flying out of your truck, getting into the environment,
But that's already-
littering?
That's
That's
littering.
already,
That's littering.
yeah, I mean, that's already a big fine. They
So-
just,
But
it's
it has
just,
to be
hard to
seen
be
by.
seen.
Right, it just
but
doesn't
it has
have-
to be
yeah.
seen by a
Police
police
officer,
officer,
right.
because Jace is not a sworn police officer. He can,
Can you take video of it?
but when it's sitting
Well-
on the property, we have
we
the
have,
authority
we
to,
have recourse to
yes,
do something.
because that's,
And that's
Well-
what we're, yeah, I mean, that's the symptom. So you, it's like a ticketable offense if during an inspection, the dumpster's above the fill line?
well, it's like, it'd be like anything else
Or in
it'd be
Or
like
is it a
anything
fine?
else during construction where if they're not complying with
a failed inspection?
With the code.
Yes, so the way it's happening now is if Jace shows up and stuff is flying, stuff is blowing around. I mean, and this, just so you all know, this is like personal for Jace, and he happens to be. We've had a number of code enforcement officers, but this happens to be kind of a personal thing for him, and he will wait until something flies out, because he's passionate about it. But what he has to see something fly out. If he sees something fly out, he can write a ticket for litter. According to Jace, a lot of these folks will put like the heaviest thing. You know, if they have, so they're building a house, they'll put a bunch of cellophane or insulation or something in there that's prone to flying around. But then they will throw on 2 sheets of plywood and some block, and it mashes it down and holds it. So from Jace's standpoint, it can be over a limit, over the top, but if it's material like concrete or something that isn't prone to flying around, it's not problematic. So it gets to shades of what is the material, and if it's insulation, spray foam, something that's highly prone to fly around, it's definitely a problem. But if it's something, a lot of the jobs, it's cut off 2x4s. It's just big, heavy, and we do that where we'll do a load of concrete millings or block or something that's not going to fly around.
right, but I mean,
So we could be requiring them to. We could, if we were to enact an ordinance, I think we could. We could be saying, hey, your 2x4s, which aren't prone to flying around, you can't put any more in. You need to swap it out. I don't know that they would have.
The dumpster itself says do not fill above this level. And yes, I get it. If you have some foam that you're then going to put heavier things on top of, I mean, I don't know, you can have somebody go up there, or you could put, I mean, yesterday afternoon, I was driving home, and there's a dumpster at 34th, and it literally it was overflowing, and the very top of it was a large piece of plywood, which was sitting at an angle like this.
To try to hold it down?
I don't know if that was the intent, but if anybody's ever tried to hold up a piece of plywood in a 55-mile-an-hour wind, I don't think it works very well. So, I don't know, it was gone this morning. I don't know what happened to it. I can't imagine it made it over the connector quite well, but.
Oh, they were driving the connector.
No,
they were-
it was there last
it was
night and it was
parked.
gone this morning, so.
So you're assuming that it probably wouldn't be able to crest over the
I
connector
can't
very
imagine that
easily
you could have
without
taken
flying
that
out.
thing over the connector without it all flying out.
But that would have been tarped, right?
I
It was?
I still don't see that a tarp is gonna hold down a piece of plywood, a 6x8 piece of plywood when the wind gets under it. I mean, maybe these tarps are magical, but
I mean, the
if it's
the
sticking up,
dumpster company certainly has some liability. They start
They-
hauling something that's gonna have a sheet of plywood
Yes.
fly off at the top of the
I
bridge.
mean, but I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen twice. So it's happening, you know, and when
It's a-
when a person that's working for the dumpster company shows up at a project after they've sat in traffic for 2 hours to get out here, and the dumpster's overflowing, do you think they're gonna say, no, I won't take this? Probably
They-
not.
Robert, I do know that we get our dumpsters turned around, but I think that's usually weight, that they say we can't.
Yeah, well, we
can't-
had that instance with weight in it. I will check with our dumpster company, see what their
But I mean,
requirements are.
I feel like there's plenty of things in the building code when you're building a house that, you know, like the silt fence. I mean, if your silt fence is, you don't have to wait until, if the fence isn't up, or if it's broken or whatever, you don't have to wait until there's a flood in order to tell them to fix it.
Mhm.
And I mean, this isn't even it's not even necessarily like a fine, it can just be that we have the authority to tell them to fix it. And if fixing it means throwing some heavy stuff on top and smushing down the styrofoam, then so be it. You know,
Is it, maybe it's more about asking them to better secure their lighter items and offering some requirements or around that? Not my area of expertise, but I do know it creates litter.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem to me that it should be that.
And Douglas,
complicated.
I don't want to speak for Dave, but we've had discussions about, you know, contractors, debris, that kind of thing, and we just, you know, he was where he came from, his municipality, they would issue dumpster permits. So I guess that contractor is associated with that dumpster. So there's like a certain amount of, I guess, liability that they hold at that point. I don't know if that's a thing, and like I said, I don't want to speak for him, but he might be better suited for
Dave,
Heinz, yeah.
oh.
Yes,
The building
department.
inspector,
Yeah,
where
yeah,
they,
we spoke briefly about it, but,
It does seem like you could leverage either through a dumpster permit or their business license if somebody was really egregious and not following good practices and clearly
right,
had
at
an
least it would be
ongoing
associated with
issue.
the contractor, with that property, and then at least that way.
Their permit could be revoked if they're not.
Yeah, and I mean, I've had where they've told us we had dumpsters on site and we had to remove some of the stuff out of the dumpster because it was over
was
the
it
fill line.
over the top or was it too
Over the
heavy?
fill line. This is personally, when I used to do
Yeah, I
construction,
know.
we would pull stuff out of it because up there, they wouldn't, in New Jersey, they wouldn't play around
I mean,
with
there's a reason
junk.
why there's a fill line. It's not
Yeah.
just like for fun. They say do not fill
I mean,
above
if
this
it's a
line.
matter of just asking them to actually follow the, yeah,
I'm
and
just-
checking on
I'm
them
not
to
trying
make sure
like-
they're
I'm
following
not
them.
trying to reinvent the wheel here. It's like, it
Well,
says do not fill above this line, so do not fill above this line. And you have a permit that the city is, I mean, there's thousands of things that we're regulating when somebody is building a house. So to me, this is just one more.
Well, the problem is when it's really windy, then it blows out, and then it blows into
Right.
other people's yards, which I see.
Oh,
Yeah.
that,
Right.
yeah.
And again, like, but right now, the way it is that it's another one of those things where the code inspector has to just happen to see the thing blow out, you know, so if it's.
And we definitely have had, from what I was able to piece together, trucks going down Palm Boulevard with polystyrene pieces popping out, and I picked a lot of it up. I mean, that's what, I wasn't sure exactly what it was, but then I had people tell me they saw trucks going down the road and things flying out of there along Palm Boulevard. So
I mean,
it does happen.
how hard would it be to just say, during any city building inspection, the dumpsters will be inspected to ensure that fill line requirements
Permits
will
are
be
met.
met, period.
So there is no requirement. So you'd have, I mean, that's Katie's point, is
Yeah.
let's make
Katie's
the
point, we'd
requirement.
have to make.
Okay.
I guess we're just, yeah, you'd be saying the requirement would be to obey the dumpster requirements. Because the dumpsters apparently all, I didn't know this, I don't know a lot about fill lines. If dumpsters all have fill lines, then we're just saying you need to, you can fail an inspection. If someone's coming to inspect a pool and there's a dumpster there and it's above the fill line, you can fail the inspection for that. I
Yeah,
mean, it,
I don't know what I don't think the enforcement would be a terribly heavy lift, I don't know. I mean, I hadn't really, and I think it would probably end up being Jake's. The inspector, he has his 16 inspections a day, and he's kind of got 20 minutes per inspection. So he's got his list, he's doing his thing. Probably wouldn't be practical for him to then kind of also be running between inspections to each of the various dumpsters to look at them. So it could be that when he shows up, but he only shows up like 4 times. Well, when there's a series of inspections, he's there every day. But he'll be there every day for 10 days, then he won't go back to that project for 6 months. So if we had the requirement, it probably would be a code enforcement, more like a litter thing, and I mean that is what they're out kind of doing.
Well,
So I don't know that
but it
would
could
be-
that, I mean, it could be, if it's in there, if it's in the code, then it can be
It gives him a
either.
tool.
Yeah.
Right, if he happens to see it when he's on inspection, that's great. If somebody like me happens to see it every single day and calls in,
Yeah.
then he can go, because I mean, he went by and talked to the people, and they said, I think it looked like they must have moved some of it into like a landscaping trailer or something, but, he didn't have, what he explained to me, he was like, he didn't have any sort of authority, he asked them
Yeah.
to do it, and they did.
It does seem like it's a
But it-
clear tool that
Yes.
maybe the
just
industry
needs to
relies
be-
on, or standard that the industry relies
Yeah, it just
on.
needs to be, we just need to have, our code enforcement and or our inspector needs to have a tool to say that you have to do this. And that's
And easier than waiting for litter to
right.
pop out of it,
Instead of sitting there waiting for,
the wind
although
to blow.
it's been so windy lately. It
Yeah.
probably wouldn't be that hard. but-
so is it code enforcement or building inspector?
It
That
could
would
be
the
either.
First question.
Yeah, it could be
As long as
either
it's-
can.
If we get, yeah.
Yeah, if
in
it's
the
a
code,
city
Uh,
code,
yeah.
it really could be
Well, it sounds like we need to do more work on this in order to figure out what the best route is to mitigate or, and stop this problem from continuing to happen.
Well, and can there just be awareness at the front when they get the permit that this is
It,
what we're
I think
requiring?
if it became a requirement, I do think, it would take some upfront, as with any new requirement, and there would be pushback, hey, this is 6x6 posts. They're not gonna fly out. I mean, that's gonna be the pushback of why do I need to do this? If the dumpster companies, but, if it's a rule, it's a rule, and it kind of makes it easy for everybody to understand.
Well, I don't see, if it's above the fill line, it's above the fill line. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
whether it's 2x4s or plastic, so.
The point would be, it's
What's
not
the
going to
point?
become debris. It's not going to fly out of the dumpster,
And
so
it-
there's not a practical reason if the dumpster company doesn't care. I'm guessing, I don't know, I assume that the reason for the dumpsters to have that fill line is so the tarp will go tight over it. If it's 6x6s and it's bowed, it's 6x6, they're not going
maybe-
to fly out.
Maybe it is there for the reason that we don't want things to fly out. Maybe that's
I think
just
that's
an
probably
industry
that-
standard.
that-
That the tarp must seal better. I'm
Yeah.
That's
guessing.
basically what it is.
Oh, it's the
If
tarp
there's
issue.
something sticking up, it's a automatic roll tarp that goes over it, and it'll catch on it, and you won't be able to cover it properly. But I think to Katie's point, if you're driving all the way to the island and something's sticking up, they're gonna grab the container regardless, and I don't know if it gets caught on there or whatever, but
Well, true.
Um,
If it's sticking
thinking-
up, then it's not covering, and then trash is gonna get
Right,
out of
yeah.
it. So whether or not that particular piece of trash that's making it stick up is gonna pop out is one thing, but it might be leading other things to pop out.
Yeah, somebody threw in
right.
something
Yeah.
light below the 6x6.
So where are we with this? Should we,
So next step would be to create, take the code book, create a red line of what exactly we're talking about. We can do that. We can take a stab at creating a new ordinance that would incorporate into our existing ordinances and just clarify
I'm
that
sure
there's already a lot of debris and
yeah,
litter.
there's a section in the,
There's a ton
building,
of stuff in
yeah.
there. I think it's all litter, I think.
rather than
okay,
Might belong in building though.
so is that,
Building code's a whole separate.
well, I mean, in the, yeah.
Maybe it belongs both places. I don't know.
is that something that you and Katie should
Yeah,
work on then, and then come back
yep,
and let us know what our options are for?
Yep.
Okay, okay. All right, well, I'm gonna make a recommendation that we, the Start the Month Clean campaign was pretty self-explanatory, and I don't think we really need to have any, it's a great idea, and
Yep.
you're working on it with Josh on the website.
We will. Yeah,
And-
we haven't talked about
Okay.
it at length, but as long as nobody has any concerns, it should be a light lift campaign that's really just about social media and a news release about encouraging people to look around their public right of way around their property and start the month by cleaning up litter around their property safely and not
Okay.
getting, using common sense while they
Common
do
sense. And with that, I think we're ready to adjourn. Can I have a motion?
it. Motion to adjourn?
A second.
Thank you.
Thank
you
you.
all.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I
we'll
know.
be
listen.
cooler, we'll be cooler next month. We'll have AC, we'll be in good shape. Thank you all.
Yeah, what's up? I've never been in here once.